There are voices that you hear on the radio that are instantly recognizable, and hers is one of those, along with Dionne Warwick and Dusty Springfield and a few others from that era, female vocalists. Greetings, VC. Welcome to the show where I talk about the artists that have shaped who I've become as a musical fan over the years. This is Influencers. I'm TC Kirkham, the Kirkham Report. Today, somebody I've been, has been in the opening credits since I started this show, and I haven't had time to get around to because I was still trying to listen to everything on the records. I have listened to it on Spotify, and I still haven't collected everything, but I've enjoyed her music forever since I was a little tiny kid. I think I was 7 when her first hit the radio, and I was always a big fan. And I had a lot of the singles, and I'd listened to all the albums on Spotify, streaming and such. But I didn't start picking most of them up until after she passed away in 2020. I sat down and I said, I want to get these. And now I have collected all but one of the Capitol albums, and I'm working on the MCA records. Those are the ones that are most important. She is a dynamic influence on me because she defined the easy listening and light pop style of the 1970s, and her name was Helen Reddy. Helen passed away in September of 2020, shortly after I joined the VC, and I posted a tribute to both her and Mac Davis at the time they passed away. This is the debut album in America, I Don't Know How to Love Him. It doesn't show up real well because of the sleeve. Helen had a way of doing things that was very interesting. Quite often, there'd be a number of middle of the road songs that were aimed at what now is known as adult contemporary, but back then was called the easy listening chart, and one or two songs that would cross over to the pop chart. Now, she, of course, had pop dominance from 1972 to 1976, but there was always a look toward the AC chart or the easy listening chart. This album, which was her first album on Capitol, not her first recording overall, those were in Canada and in Chicago earlier in the career. This gave her her first big hit, I Don't Know How to Love Him, which was taken from Jesus Christ Superstar. And I remember that song, but the one I really remember off this album and the one that made me a hit was her version of Van Morrison's Crazy Love. This is the album again, I Don't Know How to Love Him. Crazy Love, How Can I Be Sure, Our House, I Am Woman, LA Breakdown, A Song for You, Don't Make Promises, I Believe in Music, Best Friend, and I Don't Know How to Love Him. A lot of the stuff that she became known for was on this album. This version of I Am Woman is completely different from the one that would follow a couple years later, and we'll talk about that when we get there. Crazy Love was on a tape, a compilation tape that my aunt and uncle had. I played that thing to death. It's, when they were my mom and stepfather and they were playing euchre, I would have control of their stereo, and they'd let me play whatever I wanted to play, and I played Crazy Love over and over and over again. Love that song. Helen also had a way of doing styles. There would be at least one rock song on each album, or what passed as rock for her. There would be one Broadway style, maybe you might say, or cabaret style, and one torch song on almost every album. And that became a pattern for her through most of the albums on Capitol. The songs on this album are well known. Of course, everybody, easy listening artists, that sounds terrible, but I don't mean it to be disparaging. I love most easy listening artists, going way back to the 60s with Dionne Warwick and, Dusty Springfield and stuff like that. a lot of easy listening artists would do a lot of covers of popular songs, covers of not so popular songs that they'd help make popular or that had been released by somebody recently. One of the biggest trends for that, and I've complained about this in earlier videos, was the 1960s, where no matter where you went, you could not freaking get away from the shadow of your smile, which I've never been able to stand that song. But everybody recorded it. Helen did the same thing. She went through and recorded songs that had been popular. How Can I Be Sure was, of course, I believe was that the Animals, I believe, that did that originally. And around the time this album came out, David Cassidy also recorded a hit version of it. Our House is the classic Graham Nash song. A Song for You. Helen and Karen Carpenter were the best interpreters of Leon Russell's music. I love Helen's version. I love Karen Carpenter's version. Other artists have done them, some of them. Like this one, A Song for You, was the title track from the Carpenters' fourth album. But Helen does a great job with it too. I Believe in Music, which was Mac Davis's signature song. She recorded a number of songs that he had done, and she was friends with him in real life also. And Best Friend, everybody knows Best Friend if you've seen her performance as Sister Beatrice. Is that her name? In Airport 1975, she sings that song for Linda Blair's character. My Best Friend is Myself. You know, that's really something. A great song, and it's one of the few songs that she herself had written over the years. She normally recorded other artists. As a whole, this is a fine album. It's, not her best album by far, but it's definitely quality material and quality production. The producer on this, because this is going to become a complaint as I go along here. It looks like she had a variety of producers on this one, but the most prominent was Larry Marks. That was part of Helen's problem as she went into the 70s, further into the 70s. Next up, 1971. Let me check the Wikipedia here because I do have it up here. 1971's 71, 72, self-titled album, Helen Reddy. This is the only album that produced no hits from it at all. It was, it's not very well known, and had never played it until after she passed away. This was not one that I knew most of the songs from. And again, it's very much a typical, standard, easy listening album for 1971. How? I Think It's Going to Rain Today, New Year's Resolution, Come On John, No Sad Song, Summer of 1971, I Don't Remember My Childhood, Tulsa Turnaround, Time, and More Than You Could Take. This album was produced also by Larry Marks. And it's a very passable album. Very good album. The best known song is probably How, which is a John Lennon song, or I Think It's Going to Rain Today, which is Randy Newman, and No Sad Song, Carole King. She recorded the best. Of course, I Don't Remember My Childhood, another Leon Russell song. She would do those for the first 4 albums, I believe. Not a bad album, but no hits from it, no singles, and she wasn't able to capitalize on the success of I Don't Know How to Love Him, which got into the top 20, and Crazy Love, which hit the mid part of the Hot 100. And then she jumped on the feminist bandwagon, and everything changed for her. Helen was great to begin with. Let me go back to my original copy of this. This is from 1972, and it is worn to shreds. This is Helen's third album, I Am Woman. It has the lyrics of the song on the back cover. This album was produced by Tom Catalano, and I really think this is where she started to get really good. Now, this album is, absolute. Look at this thing. It was played to death when I was a kid. There are scratches everywhere, and I loved this album. Is what made me love Helen Reddy, and I've loved her, all my life. I did pick up a much better copy of the album. Most of these newer Helen Reddy albums that I'm talking about, I picked up from my pal Adam at Record Crate when he sold them shortly after she passed. I Am Woman is full of great stuff. Uh, Where's My Friend and I Love You So, I Didn't Mean to Love You, Peaceful, Hit the Road Jack, Where is the Love, I Am Woman, What Would They Say, This Masquerade, and The Last Blues Song. Now, on this album, this is where I'm characterizing, starting with this album mostly. She has her cabaret song, in this case it's The Last Blues Song. She has her rock number, which is Hit the Road Jack, and to some extent, although it is a way more laid back version than the Roberta Flack Donny Hathaway song version, Where is the Love? The rest of this is pure, easy listening AC for early 70s. And of course, she did great her version of And I Love You So, which was out which was on the album the same time Perry Como was having a hit with it. And two big singles, Peaceful and I Am Woman. This album turned her into a superstar overnight, thanks to that number one title track, which became an anthem for feminists everywhere. And rightfully so. I mean, it's a great song. I also love her cover of This Masquerade. Of all of Leon Russell's stuff, This Masquerade is my favorite. The Carpenters nailed it. Not to say that George Benson's version is bad. I love his too. Helen comes a close second, just ahead of George Benson though. I like her version of this. And her version of Hit the Road Jack is a lot of fun. I mean, it really is. But I really like Peaceful, which was the second single from the album and the first single I ever bought from Helen. I hadn't bought the album yet. And later would pick up the album in I Am Woman. And it's a great album. This is one of her best. Not her best, but one of her best. And it's definitely worth a listen. It shows Helen at her peak as she was just starting to go nuts on the charts. Next up, another album that I had for quite a while, and I believe it was from 1973. I'm checking to make sure. Yes, 1973's Long Hard Climb. I've had this since it came out, so it's not in great shape. I need to get an upgrade. Of all of her earlier albums, this is my favorite one. I love practically every song on this album. There's Leave Me Alone, Ruby Red Dress, a song which Helen detested. I'll tell you about that in a second. Lovin' You, which is her little oldie, 1920s style. A Bit Okay. Don't Mess with a Woman, the best rock song Helen ever did. Delta Dawn, number one hit. The West Wind Circus, a beautiful story song. If We Could Still Be Friends, a song which I have loved by several people I've heard do it then. Long Hard Climb, Until It's Time for You to Go, and The Old Fashioned Way. Old Fashioned Way is her cabaret song here. And Don't Mess with a Woman. Helen knocks that out of the ballpark. And another thing that bothered me over the years is Capitol often made bonehead choices for singles. I Am Woman and Peaceful were both decent off that one. But this one, knowing Helen detested Leave Me Alone, although it was a top 10 hit, don't get me wrong, I can't blame her for detesting that song. And the reason she detested it is because this damn chorus was so repetitive. Leave me alone, won't you leave me alone? Please leave me alone, now leave me alone. Yeah, I mean, it said it 8 times each loop. So 16 times a chorus, and the thing was repeated like 4 times in the song. No wonder that song drove her mad. Don't Mess with a Woman would have been a far better choice for a second single off this album. And it would have shown Helen at her best when it came to the rock stuff. That was another strong women empowering anthem. Could have went right up there with I Am Woman. It's a great song. I also have soft spots for both the West Wind Circus and If We Could Still Be Friends. Both of these ballads are beautiful. The West Wind Circus is a very story-oriented song written by Adam Miller. And If We Could Still Be Friends, a classic Paul Williams song. I love Paul's version himself of that too. It is a great album, and this would be my second favorite album of all of hers. I think this is a great album. Again, produced by Tom Catalano. Tom knew what he was doing with her, and this was really, really terrific. The third album in that area after she hit really big was one I just picked up. I had never heard the full album until I listened to it on Spotify. Oh, I don't know, a few years ago when I was on a Helen kick again when the movie was coming out about the biopic I Am Woman before she passed away. And that is this one, another Tom Catalano album, Love Song for Jeffrey. Jeffrey, of course, Jeff Wald, her then husband. Um, the difference between those two and this one is I don't really care for this album. There's a couple of good songs on it. Obviously, the big hits, Keep on Singing and You and Me Against the World. And I do like her cover of Jim Croce's I Got a Name, which Jim had the hit with it. He didn't write it. It was Gimbel and Fox that wrote it for the movie The Last American Hero. But compared to the material on the previous two albums, this album is really weak. And I'm sorry to say that because I love Helen so much. Um, that Old American Dream, You're My Home, Songs, I Got a Name, Keep on Singing. I got to look at where there's a price sticker on that. You and Me Against the World, Ah, My Sister, Pretty Pretty, Love Song for Jeffrey, and Stella by Starlight. The reason this is weak, I think, is because she went more toward the chanteuse style here. There isn't really a rock number on it, which is a shame. Um, Overall, Keep on Singing was her rock number for the single, but there was usually the rock one was an album track, and Keep on Singing, which her version did better than Austin Roberts' original, although they were both really good and they're completely different. Austin's is more of a ballad where she's turned it into this choral thing like Delta Dawn had been. But You and Me Against the World with her daughter Tracy doing the whole Tell Me Again Mommy at the beginning. Um, Classic hit, and these are both classic hits for her. But the album itself is the weakest of those first three big albums. I do like it, but it's not. I don't actually. I do like some of the songs, but overall, it's a disappointment. Um, Almost the same can be said for what was I think her biggest selling album at the time. And that was 1974's Free and Easy. Free and Easy has my favorite song of singles. Well, one of my favorites. Like it's not my very favorite. I'll get to that. Um, Angie Baby, written by Alan O'Day. Also has Emotion, which was a hit during the summer of 1975, although it didn't do as well on the pop chart as it did on the AC chart. Also includes Raised on Rock, which is the rock song from the album, and really well done. I've been wanting you so long. You have lived. I'll be your audience. Emotion, Free and Easy, Loneliness. I think I'll write a song and Showbiz. Showbiz and I'll be your audience are kind of the show type tunes, and Showbiz is right out of a It sounds right out of Broadway. I don't know. It might be. This was produced by Joe Wishart. Obviously, Capitol was not happy with that love song for Jeffrey. And again, the songs are very uneven. They're all well performed, but I'm not a big fan of all of the songs. I love Emotion. I love Angie Baby. I think I'll write a song. And Showbiz, for what it is a lot of fun. The rest, and Raised on Rock is great. The rest is filler. It's good filler. Helen didn't do bad filler. And she was just too strong of a vocalist. And Helen, that's what I've always loved about Helen, was her unique vocal. She had that um, she had that slightly nasal quality that came from her Australian background, and it projected through most of everything she did, and it was brilliant. I wish everything she'd done had been brilliant. It wasn't, and it wasn't her fault, I don't think, as much as it was production and Jeff Wald pushing everything. She returned to better form in my eyes with Ain't No Way to Treat a Lady from 1975. This produced the huge hit Ain't No Way to Treat a Lady and the original hit version of Somewhere in the Night, which Barry Manilow would cover and have a hit with 2 years later. And also Bluebird, which really tanked on the pop chart, but it did well on the AC chart. Don't Let It Mess Your Mind. You Don't Need a Reason, 10 to 8, Birthday Song, You Know Me, Nothing Good Comes Easy, and Long Time Looking. This also produced by Joe Wishart. This album I love. This has got some great stuff on it. The only really weak part of it, I'm not terribly over fond of Long Time Looking, but I love Ain't No Way to Treat a Lady. It's one of my favorite songs by her. And Bluebird, highly underrated hit for her. I always liked that. Somewhere in the Night, hers was the original, Manilow's was the cover a couple years later, and they're both good. I wish Helen and Barry had gotten together. They would have been an interesting duet because they were doing a lot of the same type of songs, and but they never recorded together, as far as I know. This one also comes with a lyric sleeve. Some of these do, and again, still on all of these are on Capitol. Um, Not a bad album, and one of my favorites actually. And then we go into the post 1975 period. Now, I've got to be totally honest. The next three albums she released, I just don't care for. Now, I purchased them because I wanted to have. I'm weird about some completist stuff. I wanted to have all of them. But this album, the last one produced by Joe Wishart, Music Music, is my least favorite Helen Reddy album overall. I just, Love Song for Jeffrey has a few defining moments on it that are really good. Not only do I not like the album covers, I don't think they're flattering pictures of her, either one of them. I Can't Hear You No More would be her final top 40 hit. And Gladiola was an oddball choice for a single. I mean, what were they thinking at Capitol? And I don't even think Gladiola did well either. Let me look real quick here. No, it hit number 10 on the AC chart, but missed the Hot 100 altogether. So, it's just, I don't know. Music in My Life was on the flip side of I Can't Hear You No More, which helps a bit because that's a great song. The rest of the album, Music Music, Mama, Hold Me in Your Dreams Tonight, Get Off Me Baby. I'm not even going to talk about that song. Lady Chain, Nice to Be Around, and You Make It So Easy. Her version of Nice to Be Around, which was a hit for Marie McGovern about 2 years earlier, is not half bad, but I still prefer Marie McGovern's version. The rest of the album, Helen turns in, her usual stellar performances, but the songs are so blah, and a couple of them are just not her style at all. I'm really kind of disappointed with this album. I think it could be better, and it should have been better, and that's what they attempted on the next album. Note that I said attempted. They brought in Kim Fowley. Kim Fowley was best known as the creator / Svengali of the Runaways in 1975, 76. They teamed him up with another gentleman, Earl Mankey, and came up with this album, Ear Candy. Again, not a flattering picture of Helen. This album is bizarre. There's so much. I would have expected Fowler to take her in a more rock direction. Helen was capable of doing great rock stuff. Don't Mess with a Woman. The other song with rock and the I want to make me want to rock. I forgot the name of it off the top of my head. It slipped my mind. Sorry. She's great at that kind of stuff. This, he chose the single You're My World, a remake of Cilla Black's hit from the 1960s. And her version of it is fantastic. Don't get me wrong. It is fantastic. And again, Helen's performances here are fantastic. But again, the Happy Girls was the second single, which made no sense to me. And it did get her, I found out, I didn't realize it, but I found out Laissez les bon temps rouler, which is the classic Cajun song that's done by current Cajun bands actually hit the country chart briefly as the flip side of the Happy Girls. Um, You're My World, One More Night, Long Distance Love, If It's Magic, Aquarius Miracle, Laissez les Bon Temps Brûler, The Happy Girls, Midnight Skies, Baby I'm a Star, and Thank You. Um, this pairing didn't work. Again, Helen's performances are stellar, but I was kind of like, what the hell is up with the Cajun song? Um, the Happy Girls, I've never cared for. I know it was a single. You're My World is good. Baby I'm a Star is great too. And Thank You is a pretty song. But for the most part, um, it could have been if they had picked some better material for her to work with Fowler on. I think this could have been a bigger album. This was her first album to miss the Billboard 200, and yeah, this one also missed the Billboard 200. I've actually had this for a while, as I bought in Cutout Bin a few years ago, but again, or maybe I didn't. Maybe it was a cutout when I bought it from Adam. I thought I bought this a while back. 1978's We'll Sing in the Sunshine. Classic song. I've actually played the original version by Gail Garnett on Obscuria. I gotta use this is red on gray. Sorry. Ready or Not, All I Ever Need, Poor Little Fool, One After 909, I'd Rather Be Alone, Lady of the Night, Catch My Breath, We'll Sing in the Sunshine, Blue, and If I Ever Had to Say Goodbye to You. Now, this is actually an improvement over the last two or three, last two albums from the other two. But again, a lot of this was Helen was getting substandard stuff from Capitol. Her version of "We'll Sing in the Sunshine" was a good song. It was a chart hit on my chart and on the AC chart. But I don't know. I didn't. Everything was good. The problem is it wasn't great. This was also produced by Kim Fowley for the most part, and he did a much better job. He obviously did some research after this, and although again he's kept Helen in her comfort zone, which is odd because I know Helen wasn't all that happy with this stuff. I've read that she wasn't all that happy with this stuff. And then we come to 1979. Now, Helen had done a lot of stuff over the years. And a lot of it, most of it, was aimed at the AC chart and the pop chart. She had 3 number 1 pop hits with I Am Woman, Delta Dawn, and Angie Baby. And she deserved all 3 of them. And she deserved the success she got for the other albums, too. And I really think she kind of got the shaft with some of it. And, oh, I got a bad hair, I'm sorry. I can't get rid of it. Oh, well. And so I was pondering. I don't know what Capitol was thinking at the time. They hooked her up with a producer named Frank Day, with associate producer Bruce Sperling, who was working for her husband, Jeff Wald. And they produced the best album of Helen's career, 1979's Ready, Helen's disco album. Now, I don't say this because I am a disco fan. These are Helen's strongest performances since way back on No Way to Treat a Lady in 1975. What the hell happened in between that album and this album? I don't know. The sad thing is, the critics roasted this album. They were wrong. The critics roasted her attempt at disco with her final top 100 Hot 100 hit, Make Love to Me, which peaked at number 60. It deserved better than that. It is probably my favorite song by her, other than maybe Angie Baby or one of those. This album is top-notch awesome. I don't understand why the critics hated it, why it failed. It missed the top Billboard 200 again, and couldn't seem to get any traction on the AC chart either. There was no excuse for that. Now, Make Love to Me became her first R&B hit. She hit the Hot Soul Singles chart with that, and she hit the dance chart with that. But this album, Trying to Get to You, Perfect Love Affair, The Magic Is Still There, Make Love to Me, Minute by Minute, Let Me Be Your Woman, You're So Good, Words Are Not Enough, and Sing My Heart Out. People who say this is a bad album haven't listened to it properly. I honestly believe that. This album is Helen's best ever album on Capitol. I love her cover of Minute by Minute, the Doobie Brothers song. Trying to Get to You was a single off the album also. Did well on the AC chart. It missed the Hot 100, I think. And everything else here is great. She does have a couple of the ballads that she's known for. But mostly it is a 1979 era easy listening / hot AC / disco album. And it is top notch. She deserved better than what she got with this album, because this is really, I honestly, this is my favorite album by her of everything she's done, and I've just been through 10 of them. You know, this was it. This is the best. Now, that's where my albums stop. I do have Live in London, but I haven't listened to it yet, and I haven't listened to it on Spotify yet either. I picked it up from Adam as well, and it's over here in my pickups to listen to area. And I do not have her final album on Capitol, which was Take What You Find from 1980. I ordered it and didn't get it. They forgot it, so they refunded it. And I haven't ordered the other two albums from MCA, Play Me Out and Imagination, yet. I'm still looking to get those. But Helen is an artist that I think really deserved better than what she got from the critics. Public loved her in the 70s. They loved what she did, and she deserved that love. She was great all the way around, and she did some stuff on the side that you wouldn't expect. She was part of the Voices That Care single that came out during the Gulf War in 1991. That was one of her, last really visible things on record. She is clearly audible as a background vocalist on True Confessions from Gene Simmons' solo album, Kiss solo album from 1978. Great job. Helen was just not given the respect she deserves. Now, I have not seen the biopic, I Am Woman. I have wanted to. I know Tilda Cobham Murray, I think was her name, got rave reviews for playing Helen, and Evan Peters played her husband, Jeff Wald. It got rave reviews in Toronto. I have not seen it yet. I'd like to. I think it's going to be interesting. Helen is always going to be one of my favorite artists because her unique style, her unique voice is instantly recognizable. There are voices that you hear on the radio that are instantly recognizable, and hers is one of those, along with Dionne Warwick and Dusty Springfield and a few others from that era, female vocalists. And she deserved better than she got as with the critics. The critics were never that kind to her. I think Capitol really screwed her over in the late 70s. Like I said, Kim Fowler's second album, We'll Sing in the Sunshine, was better than the first one. but she was clearly in her heyday from 1971 to 1975. And those, except for Love Song for Jeffrey, I love every one of those albums. And Love Song for Jeffrey has its moments. Um, but these other ones, these ones from the late 70s, except for Ready from 1979, her best album, I I don't listen to them much. I listen to the singles, that's about it, on my computer. And I've listened to each of the albums once since I got them. Um, she did mold what I liked, though. She, along with Karen Carpenter, Olivia Newton-John, Tony Tennille, and the ladies from ABBA, mostly, formulated what I liked in a female sound. Um, I really enjoyed Helen's music. I loved her voice. I loved her presence. And she was dynamite when she did television. Um, she had her own variety show in 1973, replacement for the Philip Wilson show during the summer. She hosted Midnight Special off and on for 2 years. She did a lot of other stuff, guest spots and such, like Merv Griffin, Mike Douglas, Dinah Shore, all of those. She was always great, and she was always funny. She was on. She knew how to tell a joke. She knew how to take a joke. She was really, really one of a kind. And it's one of the reasons I love Helen Reddy. And if you have not heard her library, I would start with 3 albums. 1972's I Am Woman, which is one of her best and the one that's best known. 1973's Long Hard Climb, which is one of my favorite albums, and 1979's Ready, and then go back and hit Ain't No Way to Treat a Lady and I Don't Know How to Love Him, which are the other 2 favorites. I really, really loved Helen Reddy, and she very much was an influence in my love for female music and female singers. And I think her closest equivalent as far as style and substance today is probably Canadian singer Jan Arden. Jan Arden has a very unique sound. She has one, although the difference is Jan writes almost everything she does, but Helen wrote a few of her songs, but not a lot. And she tried acting. No, I said tried. She wasn't bad, but the new Pete's Dragon was way better than the first one. And Airport 75 is what it is, a hilarious guilty pleasure as a disaster movie. So, and Helen helps make that work. I think was she Sister Ruth? I can't remember her. She was either Beatrice or Ruth. There was the 2 ladies that were the nuns. Um, it was a fun movie. It was fun watching her. And she was the primary reason I went to see it, really, because other than the fact that I had recently fallen in love with disaster movies, and still am, especially the cheesier the better. And Airport 75 is only out-cheesed by the Concorde Airport 79, as far as those go. In any case, if you haven't really sampled Helen Reddy, the time has come to do so. She's fantastic, and I miss her very much. Her voice will always be here for on record. And this is the best album, 1979's Ready. Check her out if you're not familiar with her, and listen to some of the stuff that I've recommended. If you are into the laid-back, easy listening style, you'll catch on right away. Some people, I don't expect all you, classic rock fans to go wild for Helen Reddy, but Don't Mess with a Woman is great. I put that beside any other rock song of the day, 73, 74, and it should have been a single. It really should have been. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't already, and if you have already, thank you. And please leave a comment. I love listening to you and talking to you. And let's keep those dialogues going. Just as the first one I've done since I saw the video, I've just a shout out to Jenny at B-Sides, and know that we're always trying to have that conversation about music, and that's what this show is about. My love for music. For influencers, I'm TC Kirkham. Don't forget to check out all my other shows during the week, and I'll see you then. Until then, ciao, baby.